Hey my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I like to start off every day with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. And of course, I think of my favorite quote of the century by Oscar Wilde, which says, "Life is too important to be taken seriously, so lighten up." Alright guys, so today's topic is a little more serious, speaking of not taking life too seriously. It is Friday, September 10th, so tomorrow, September 11th, is the 20th anniversary of 9/11, that horrific day in U.S. history. So I just wanted to tell my little story about that. First off, I just want to say, those who perished, you are still missed, and families and loved ones who unfortunately lost people, our hearts go out to you. I personally lost a handful of people that day. Not anyone who was like in my everyday life per se, but people who I had known that at one point were close to me or in my everyday life. But you know how life goes. People's lives take different directions, and then suddenly they're not in your everyday life anymore. But anyway, my personal story with that was, I remember it was a Tuesday, and for the couple of weeks leading up to that, I had been away. I'd been to like LA, Cincinnati, San Francisco, because I had just stepped up as being Empress of the Imperial Court of New York City. So I had gotten back that Sunday, and I was supposed to work that Tuesday. And luckily for me, instead of starting, I was working retail at the time, and I was freelancing that day at Saks Fifth Avenue. But rather than starting at 10 a.m., I wasn't scheduled to start until 12 noon. So I was like, oh, thank God. So I had, of course, shut my phone off when I go to bed at night. And when I woke up that morning, I woke up at like 9:30. And I woke up to all of these messages of different friends asking, are you okay? Oh my God, are you fine? Like, I suddenly got all of these phone calls. They were like 6 messages, and I remember thinking, yeah, actually, I feel kind of good, because I was like, I had been traveling so much that I was a bit exhausted. And then all of the messages that everyone left, no one bothered to ask me, or no one bothered to say why they were asking if I was okay. I just kind of thought, oh, people are being sweet because they know that I've had a hectic schedule. So then a couple of minutes later, I turned my phone on and turned on the television, and at that precise moment my phone rang again, and it was my friend Sterling. Hey, Semelita. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, but why does everyone keep asking me if I'm okay? And he was like, girl, don't you have the news on? And I was like, no, I just woke up. So and he was like, World Trade Center, terrorists. And I turned on New York 1. And at that precise moment, I saw the second tower crumbling, and I was like, and I just remember that precise moment where I suddenly went from waking up and looking forward to, going back to work and finally had finished these 2 weeks of traveling, to then suddenly a second later, I saw that within minutes of waking up, and that it was so surreal to me. And I was like, wow. I remember my demeanor completely changed. And then, I remember even for days to follow, the internet was sketchy, and there was so much shit going on. And for the days to follow, I was then, hearing about people that I knew who had not made it. And one of my best friends in particular, Maribel from high school, hey girl, she was working at building number 5. So I immediately, she was someone who still was in my everyday life. And I remember I called her for days and days, and I could not get a hold of her. So I was assuming the worst. And then she subsequently did call me a few days later, and she was like, girl, I'm so sorry, that I was out of touch. And I was like, bitch, you had me worried. I thought you were dead and I could kill you. It's just kind of funny that I said that. And what ended up saving her was that, she was late to work. She was supposed to start at 9. Had she been on time, the likelihood is she wouldn't be around today. She ended up getting to work half an hour late. And I think that's what saved a lot of people. So, something to be said about being punctual, but the people who tend to be tardy that particular day, that's probably what saved them. Unfortunately, many people did not survive. And here it is 20 years later. And, when I think about it, I still get a little verklempt, as they say. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, and like I said, those that I ended up losing, they weren't in my everyday life, but still, you think of people that were at one point, and now suddenly this terrible event happened and now they're not. So I remember also, because I was Empress and I had to travel a lot, exactly a month later, I had to take a flight to Toronto. And I remember that feeling of just the fact that I was going on a plane so soon after this had happened. I was nervous as hell, and it was from New York to Toronto, the flight's like an hour. It's not that long. It was the longest hour flight I had ever taken. And then to make matters worse, there was a gentleman sitting right behind me who was like a bit unruly and drunk and like talking shit and just being rambunctious. And it was obvious by looking at him that he was some kind of like Middle Eastern descent. And I remember I was thinking to myself, this bitch, because he was saying some of the shit he was saying too, it was just like he was spewing out all of this hate. And I was like, and I was ready to take the bitch down, because I was like, the girl, I got my bayonet up in my weave, and I was not going to go down without a fight. That obviously ended up not happening, but the stewardesses and steward had to like go to him and tell him, simmer it down, otherwise they would I don't know what they would have done, because we were already in the air when he started acting that way. But that hour that I was on the flight with this man acting like that was not the most comfortable flight I'd ever taken. And then I remember even 6 months later, a friend of mine was visiting from San Antonio. Hey, Christy. And I remember going to the World Trade Center site, suddenly, people wanted to go there and see it. And I didn't understand why all of a sudden that particular spot became like a tourist location and people wanted to see it. I mean, unless if you knew someone that passed away, but this particular friend and other friends that I know, or people that I know that wanted to go there, not even knowing anyone that had perished, I didn't, for me, it was maybe because I knew people that did, I just was not comfortable with it. But she wanted to go, so it was 6 months after the fact, and we went, and I just remember being there, and it was the most somber feeling. It was sad, it was horrific. There was this stillness and this quietness there, and this thickness in the air that you can cut with a knife. And we were there all of barely 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, you saw it, good, I need to get the hell out of here. Because I just was not, even for me personally, just even being there was not comfortable. So, and again, I didn't understand, unless you knew someone that passed away, what the big fascination or whatever, what was the driving force that would make people want to actually be there and witness that and just see this empty space. Anywho, so for those of you, like I said, who do have loved ones that passed away, or maybe even not that particular day, but then you hear of all of these people who after the fact, people that lived downtown in that area ended up with so many health issues because of all the debris and shit in the air, and and then so many people passing away after the fact. So it was a horrific thing, but just know we are all thinking of you. At least I know I am. And 20 years later, it's wow, that was 20 years ago. It's a bit of a mind fuck, but okay. So I just wanted to tell my little story and let everyone know that we're all here with you and all that good stuff. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Love you.